All right, the fourth common issue to be aware of is not recognizing if an element of the part taken or an issue affecting the residue property is compensable or not. The purpose of the value analysis report is to estimate fair compensation. Compensation is for the part taken and damages, if any. Those preparing the value analysis must be aware of what elements of the part taken and of damages are compensable and which are not. There are four common scenarios. First scenario, those preparing the value analysis must be aware that certain situations affecting the residue may adversely affect it, but it still is not compensable. As it's not compensable, the complex valuation problem affecting the residue may be eliminated. As that adverse situation isn't compensable, the VA may still be a viable valuation format for the parcel. Here's an example. All right, that's the road. Got a divided highway there. Here's the lot. It's in blue. And that red represents a WD taking. All right, so before the taking, that property had full turn radius. If you were in the property, you could make a right turn out, you could make a left turn out, a right turn in, left turn in. You had full turning radius. So the project is going to install a median barrier, and that black represents the median barrier. So before the lot had full turning access to the road, after, access is reduced to right in and right out. This is a detrimental effect to the value of the residue, but it's not compensable. So the value analysis still may be used if the issues remain non-complex and the compensation is less than $10,000. All right, the second issue, not recognizing that as a result of the taking, the residue is damaged, that the element of damage is compensable, and the preparer of the value analysis, who is unaware of the damage, finishes the waiver valuation. The result is that damage was not recognized, and the valuation problem was complex. It wasn't simplistic. The VA should not have been used, and compensation wasn't fair. ODOT provides guidance to what is and is not compensable. It's the section 4400 of the real estate manual. It's called the Guide to Compensability, and it's section 4000.117 of the real estate manual. It's known as items of special appraisal treatment. So here's the 4400 section of our real estate manual, Guide to Compensability. You can see there's many different items listed there. Let's just take one. Let's say trees. That's always a common question. So 4400.27 talks about trees in the right-of-way. And there is that existing policy for trees in the right-of-way. And so what does it say? Well, it defines what's compensable. Compensation is for the taking or injuring of trees, but only as a contributory value to the land taken. Trees within the proposed right-of-way may be considered in compensation for the part taken. What's not compensable? Compensation is not paid for trees and shrubs existing in the current right-of-way. So notice there's a difference. Trees that are within the proposed right-of-way are compensable, while trees that exist in the existing right-of-way generally are not compensable. Why not just value the tree by itself instead of its contributory value? Hire an arborist to estimate the cost to replace the tree, or determine the value of the wood at market, like firewood or value to a sawmill. Well, that violates Supreme Court law, going back to Schaefer v. Sauer. The property must be valued as a whole. If there are several interests or estates in the real estate, the proper method is to determine the value of the property as a whole with a later apportionment of the amount awarded among the owners. Market value cannot be determined by separately valuing each part or each component and then adding those separate values to arrive at a market value of the entire property as a whole. So it would be improper to value the tree separately and add that value to the value of the whole as a component part. Violates Schaefer v. Sauer. It must be valued as a part of the whole, thus its contributory value. So how do you determine the contributory value of a tree as a part of the whole? Well, here's an example. Got a house sitting on a lot, and you got 3 dots there, and those dots are 3 shade trees. And we have an SH taking. That's a standard highway easement taking. One of the trees is totally taken. The other tree is partially taken, but what's left of the tree is injured. So this requires an analysis. The first analysis is, before the taking, how much would someone pay for the whole property as is? And as is a house on a lot with 3 shade trees along the right-of-way. It also requires a second analysis. We're still considering the property before the taking, but how much would someone pay for the property with only 1 shade tree? The difference in value between those 2 analyses is the contributory value of the 2 trees that are taken as part of the whole. All right, so here's section 4000.17 of the Real Estate Manual, Items of Special Appraisal Interest. Some of the more common issues of compensability one might encounter while preparing the value analysis are signs, fencing, timber, tenant-owned improvements, manifest injury. All right, the third element to be aware of is items in the take that are determined to be personal property are not considered in the value analysis report. Personal property of the occupant or of the owner is moved from the proposed right-of-way as a relocation benefit. That personal property is not taken. The owner retains possession. If the personal property is paid for in the part taken as part of the value analysis, and it is also moved from the right-of-way as a relocation benefit with the owner receiving a relocation payment, then the owner receives double compensation. To avoid this situation, there must be clear communication between the person who prepares the value analysis and the acquiring agency. And the fourth item to be aware of is items in the existing right-of-way are not included in the compensation estimate. Items that may exist in the current or existing right-of-way are an encroachment, and unless they are there by a permit or a license issued by the agency, things that encroach into the right-of-way do not legally occupy that space, and ODOT may remove those without compensation. The exception to this rule is if an encroaching fence holds back livestock from getting onto the highway. And so that fencing may be restored as a cost to cure, but that you need to look at the highway plan or check with the agency, as the construction contract may require the contractor to restore the fencing. And if that's the case, we're not going to deal with it as a cost to cure item. All right, it is now time for a knowledge check.